Welcome to 'Cause We're Nerds, the podcast that covers trends and releases in comics, movies, video games, board games, and much more. I'm your host Caleb, and with me is my brother Jacob.
Hey everybody.
The summer movie craze is here, and that means it's time for movie madness. From now until July, we'll be reviewing a newly released movie nearly every week. Today, we're discussing John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Does the third film in the action series keep pace, or is it starting to tire? Find out on this week's episode of 'Cause We're Nerds. Yeah, I'm thinking he's back.
What a great way to start a podcast.
John Wick. You know, I only saw this movie, the first one, because of Zach, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was down here a couple years ago, and he was like, hey, have you ever seen it? No, I haven't. So we watched it, and somehow I never ended up catching the second one, and then this one was coming around, and I was putting the schedule together, and I thought, hey, what a good opportunity to catch up on the second one, and then watch the new one.
Well, you know, Caleb, I am in a similar boat, except I never even caught the first one. So, all day Saturday, we are recording here Sunday, so all day yesterday, I woke up, watched 1, immediately watched 2, took a 45-minute break, and then went to see 3 in theaters. So, all 3 of these movies are incredibly fresh in my mind.
How is that? Like, is it a good series to marathon like that? I've never done that.
So, I would say it's a little tricky with this series because all the movies are very similar in style and pacing. All of them could act as a standalone movie, mostly with the kind of exception of 3. And so it's hard because you see repeats, you know, that you were supposed to see 4 or 5 years later in the sequel. I'm now seeing, you know, an hour after I just saw it.
Really?
Yeah. So, and we'll get into it, but there were things that they said, you know, in every single movie, and just by the third one, I was tired of it because I watched them in a row. But if I hadn't seen them in a row, it wouldn't have been bad like at all.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean, like callbacks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to answer your question, if I don't think it's the worst series to binge, but there are definitely better series out there that would keep you more invested the entire time.
Okay, cool. So I watched the second one, and I know we're not technically talking about the second one, but I just want to say I really enjoyed the second one. I remember liking the first one, but thinking it was a lot of just gun shooting. And I watched the second one, and there was a lot of gun shooting, but there was also more hand-to-hand stuff, and so I liked it. And I thought the second one was better than the first one, so that gave me a lot of hope going into the third one.
This is actually a little bit of, you know, foresight into what I'm going to think about this movie and what I'm going to say, but I actually think this is a sequel that betters with each one.
Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Which I will say, just really quick, you know, not super getting into it, which is weird for a saga. Or a trilogy, not a saga.
Yeah, it is. And especially considering the type of series this is. Like,
yes.
It's essentially a C or B action series, but somehow it's just done so well that it's elevated, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So, I went to see this movie yesterday, actually. We saw it last night. And we saw it in IMAX. The theater was not very full at all. There maybe were, I didn't really count, maybe 50 people in there, maybe 60 people. Really not a whole lot of people. It was not 3D, which I was very glad to see. The theater was extremely hot, which, might color a couple of my comments later on. Because, you know, when you're hot, you just want to get out. But,
Yep. Remember that movie we went to see, like, The Hobbit or something like that? And it was Star Wars. And it was so warm.
Oh, yeah.
It was hot to the point where I was feeling sick.
It was
I just
terrible.
wanted to get out of there. Courtney hated it.
Yeah. We went to a different theater for that one.
Yeah, that was not good.
Yeah. That was Last Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was drinking some water.
No, you're good. I forgot my water. I normally have some water beside me, and I don't have it. So I might have to run and get some if I need it later.
Okay.
Anyway, how was your theater?
Not packed at all. Temperature was fantastic. But, yeah, not packed at all. I went at, I think it was 6:15 yesterday on a Saturday. So lots of calls out there, but not many people in my theater. I'd say max, maybe 90 max, which is weird because that's a very popular time, for movies.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there wasn't a lot of people.
Okay, that's interesting because I think I saw that it beat out Endgame this weekend.
Oh, did it?
At least domestically.
I did not see that, actually.
Yeah,
I'm surprised because I looked at numbers earlier.
I could be wrong, but I believe so. But anyway, just like all of our reviews, we are going to do non-spoilers first, and then jump into spoilers, and we will clearly tell you when that happens, so you can jump off if you don't want to know what happens. I will say that even though this is a series that, for the most part, doesn't have much story, the third one does have a lot more story than the first two, I felt. So if your rationale for listening to spoilers is it doesn't have a story, I don't think that applies to this one.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would be a huge deal.
I think I was saying the opposite of that.
No, I thought you were saying... Well, anyway, out of the trilogy, this movie has the most callbacks to the last movie and the most story in it relating to, especially the second movie. So, but it's not a big deal. Like, if you miss it, it's not a big deal.
I think you would be very confused watching this movie, having not seen the second one.
I think you may be a little confused, but I don't think it would necessarily take a lot away from the movie.
I don't know. So Courtney watched number 2 with me, and she had started 1 with us, and then she either went to bed or something. She didn't finish it. And so watching 2, she was a bit confused. And I think going into 3, knowing how she felt about 2, you could probably still enjoy it, but there would be tons of things you'd be confused about. I mean, any of the stuff about how the Continental works, or the world, or the rules. Or,
okay, that's true.
Any of that, they don't really explain it.
Fair enough. And also, just to go back one quick second before we get too far away, it did beat Endgame with a $57 million debut.
Cool. All right, so right off the bat, Jacob, what did you think about this one?
Okay, so no spoilers, of course. I really liked this one. I thought it had the most variety of action sequences of any of the trilogy. I think it incorporated some really good elements that the others had chances to incorporate, but just kind of missed the point with it.
Mm.
I believe that the acting is mostly good. In this one, I will say you have a little bit of the cheesy acting that you normally do in action movies.
You had some issues with the acting?
Just from one character. It's only one character.
Which
really.
character?
It's oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We'll get into it in spoilers, because I have to say what he's doing, because I don't remember his name.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, only one character, and it may have been less of his acting and more of his character alone. That could have been what it was. That's probably more what it was.
Is it towards the second half?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, the music was a really good choice in this. It's not super...
I love the music in this.
Yep. It's not as prevalent, as in some movies. It's not like in your face. However, whenever they do increase, the volume of it is awesome. It's right on point. It goes with the action sequences perfectly. It really makes you be more invested into the movie. Yeah, I mean, Keanu Reeves is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
As always.
Well, not always, but...
I would say a good 90% of the time.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen most of his movies because after The Matrix, he kind of fell off a bit.
Okay, fair enough. Out of the movies I've seen, I say like a good 90%.
And he's only seen 3.
Halle Berry was good.
Yeah, which I actually didn't know she was even in this going into it. I have not been keeping up with it. So we were going in and Courtney was like, so Halle Berry's in this one, right? And I'm like, what? She is?
Yeah, I had no idea that she was in this because I heard a voice, because you don't, no spoilers, but you don't see her immediately and you hear a voice and I was like, that kind of sounds like Halle Berry, but there's no way. And then she walks out and I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. There's actually several people in this movie that I recognize that weren't in any of the others. There's a guy from Game of Thrones in here. There's the guy that plays Penguin in Gotham is in here. I think I noticed a couple others, just random characters.
Oh, the without giving anything away, the pigeon guy.
Oh, I mean, Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, I always forget his name.
But he was in the second one.
Well, yeah, wait. No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What part? What part?
Wait.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the second one.
All right, now I've got to look it up because now they're running together for me.
That's my problem is whenever you binge a series like this, it's kind of hard to do a podcast if you're only doing them about one of the movies because it kind of ran all together for me.
It's like, how most people can't remember what happened in which Bourne movie? That's kind of what this is like, but worse.
Yeah. And especially the first and second movie in this trilogy specifically molds together. The third movie has a bit of a break where you can tell, but the first and second one absolutely run together.
Yes, Lawrence Fishburne is in the second one. I thought so. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first bad guy, we're not getting it, just really quick, the first bad guy in the trilogy is the guy that, can we talk about the trilogy? The first two?
Yeah, we can talk about the first two.
Okay. So, is the nephew that killed the dog and stole the car, and then his uncle. Those are the main bad guys in that one. The next one is...
It's the, I don't know if he's Italian or Russian. I think he's Italian. The guy who wants him to kill his sister.
Ah, yes. And that kicks off the third one. The guy that blew up his house.
No. He didn't have anything to do with the house.
Was that in the third one that I just said that?
I don't know. Was it?
That actually might be in the third one.
I don't know. Well, who's to say? We'll get into it.
But yeah, anyways, that's it for me for non-spoilers. I liked it. I would say this is a definite go see in theaters. Yeah. Okay, Caleb. What do you think?
I just want to go back to the music for a second. The music in this series, at least the second and the third one, because it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but the second and the third one I really enjoyed. When it kicks in, it's like this really driving music. Like it just feels like, yeah, let's get going. And it goes and it feels like it's, I really don't know how to describe it. Like driving is the only word I know how to describe it. And there's a couple of ones that they use throughout the entire series, which is the like, oh yeah, it's about to happen type music, which I really enjoyed. In fact, there's a point in this one where they play it, and I thought the movie was going to end, and it didn't.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Really quick update. That was in the second movie.
The house?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Because if I would have thought about that more, yes.
Yeah, it was the guy that I'm talking about. He's the guy that blew up the house.
Yeah, but he's not the guy that did the car.
No.
Which, by the way, while we're talking about this, at the end of the first one, was the dog he got, was he a puppy or was he a dog?
He's a dog.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I wasn't sure exactly how much time had passed between 1 and 2. I assumed a few weeks to maybe a month.
Now, the second and third, you can tell because it picks up literally immediately.
The second and third are very much back to back.
Seamless.
Yeah, this one, I really, really, really enjoyed the first half. Like we kind of alluded to earlier, this is a series where I think every single movie gets better. The second one's better than the first one. This one is better than the first two. I don't know how they do it, but they figure out how to do it, and they keep injecting more and more story. The first one is very light on story. Story is basically, guy kills dog, dog's owner gets mad, goes on killing spree. The second one, they add... Huh?
It's not just a dog.
Right. The second one, they add a bit more story, and here they add a lot of story, and somehow they keep getting better. So the first half I really loved. There was a point where I thought it was going to end. I thought would have been a good ending, actually. But I will say this one, it could be because the theater was hot. I felt like it got a little bit long towards the end, a little bit samey. There is a lot of variety of action, but towards the end, there is a section where it just gets like really shooty. It's just a lot of shooting. And so I kind of got bored of that for a while, you know?
No, I get that.
Yeah, so I wish that could have been maybe a little bit shorter. But, you know, overall, that's not too bad. I will say there are definite shades of James Bond and Indiana Jones in this movie, which is very different from the first two.
Yep, I completely agree.
We'll get into what I think of that in spoilers. But one thing that did surprise me was that this movie is really brutal at the beginning. And I think that it's probably the most brutal out of any of them, because I don't remember anything like that being in the first two.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I like about binging the series, is that you can compare all of them. The first and second one had some gruesome parts. However, they were quickly shown. And so, you know, the camera may have been panning, or there may have been quick movement to do it. But in this movie, it really focuses on a few gruesome things. And so you really get like the feeling, of, that just, wow, I can really see what's happening, and it is very graphic.
Yeah, definitely. The first two, I think, were mostly guns, especially the first one. The first one's almost entirely guns. And there's a lot in the first half of this where there aren't guns. And it does get brutal. There was a lot of the audience was reacting like, ooh, and like, type stuff when things were happening. There's even one part where I kind of looked away because I didn't want to see what was happening. Courtney looked away at a different part. And so, yeah, it's more brutal than you would expect. So if you're going into it, just know that. But on the other side of things, I mean, that's not a bad thing that's brutal, but one thing that I love about this movie is that it takes everything you know from the first two and it really expands it and it explains it to a degree where I really feel like I understand the world now. Like the first two were cool, but you didn't necessarily think about the world that he was in and how it works. In this one, you get tons of backstory. You get backstory on him. You get backstory on a little bit of the High Table. You learn about some of the characters.
A little bit.
The Continental. Some of the characters from the first two. You get a lot of stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, I really like this. This is one thing about this trilogy that I really like is, you understand how the whole process works by the end. The first one they kind of introduce you to and you're like, okay, that's cool. The second one, they introduce you, to a bit more in depth. But the third one, they say, hey, all of this, kind of exactly what you just said. But it goes even more in depth, and that's something they didn't have to do. The movie makes sense without it. But it's just those small details that they added that really makes you appreciate the movie even more.
Yep. Acting, I felt was really good all around. Choreography, always excellent.
Amazing.
I have not seen, I think it's called The Raid. I think The Raid is like one that's come out in the last 10 years or so that's like held up really high. But I feel like this is the best hand-to-hand action that I've ever seen.
Yep, it reminds me, I remember when Daredevil came out on Netflix and everybody was like, oh, the hallway scene, because it was so good. This entire movie is the hallway scene.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell the exhaustion, you can tell just the precise movements that they choreographed, and it is just phenomenal.
It's really interesting because the first movie kicked off like a new type of action movie, right? I mean, John Wick came in and it was the thing. And so you got a lot of movies that were kind of based off of that. We had, like Atomic Blonde borrowed a lot of the action from this. I saw a trailer before this movie for a movie called Anna, which is kind of borrowing that.
Hitman came out after the first one, right?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen Hitman.
I can tell you. If it did, so let's see. John Wick, the first one came out in
2014.
Wow. Okay. You knew that immediately.
It's because I had it pulled up.
Oh, again. Hitman came out in, oh, not the game.
I think there's been more than one Hitman movie too.
I don't think so.
I think yeah. Because there was definitely one that came out before, or when I was in high school, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. Don't listen to me. Never mind. I would say that when this movie came out, I knew it was one or the other. After watching this movie, it reminds me a lot of Hitman. And you said you haven't seen it, but it takes a lot of the same, especially the gun scenes. You can almost transfer them over. It came out in 2007. So, yeah, it takes a lot of elements from Hitman, but you're right. John Wick, for some reason, Hitman didn't really spark off anything like that, but John Wick definitely did, and it's still going. I had 2 or 3 trailers for other movies that were exactly John Wick-like movies.
Oh, definitely.
Just before Chapter 3. So I think it's something that was just so new and that audiences just love that companies and studios just try to grab onto, and they're still trying to, squeeze as much juice out of it that they can.
But the impressive thing is that normally when that happens, by the time the original series gets to the third one, it's kind of gotten stale. It has not gotten stale here. They're still inventing new ways to do things, still in that same sort of style. And that's just very impressive to me.
Yep. I'm ready to get into spoilers, Caleb.
All right. Let's get into it. Spoilers are here, everyone. So, if you don't want to hear, check into your local Continental where you'll be safe.
That was not just a warning. It's a promise. Turn back now. Okay, Caleb. I wanted to start out, okay? Something about this entire trilogy, but really wraps in this movie that I love, that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite things about this entire trilogy because it makes so much sense, is the golden coins that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. The first 2 movies, I was like, hey, that's really cool. It's untraceable. Nobody can bring it back to you, and it can't be tracked, and it's golden, so it has profit, but yet it's also designed with intra-core design, so they know if it's a fake or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved that, but then in this movie, I loved how they were talking about, yes, it is worth money because it's gold, but it also just symbolizes, the brotherhood and the set of promises, which makes sense because this is their currency, and I love that aspect. Anything you need, you can get with these golden coins that you get for following the rules and for, completing tasks. And I don't know why. I just love that so much.
Yeah, I liked that whole thing a lot. I had a question about it though, which is, how do you get your first one? Like, if you're getting into this and everything, it seems like checking into the Continental is like step 1 when you're going on a job. But to check in, you have to have a coin. So I think what it is that, it's kind of like the black market at first, right? If you want to get started, you find someone, you give them cash for a cell phone. When you get that cell phone and there's a contract that comes up, it gets sent to you. Whenever it says that there's $14 million, I took it as, that's not actually dollars. I took it as you get the equivalent of 14 millions in those coins. And then at some point in the movie, it talks about how you can turn in coins for cash. Oh, did they?
Yeah. So, someone states that how, when they were getting out of the game, or, someone said how, some places don't take that, and the other character was like, they either said, yeah, you can go turn in, or, yeah, go see the management, and they can trade that out for you, or something like that. that at least gave me the thought that you could transfer it out. So I think that's how you get started. You purchase a phone, and then I don't think you can buy the coins, but you can turn the coins in for cash.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's how I always thought. I could be wrong, but they don't really go into exact details about that. Which I kind of like. I like how, in this trilogy, this is more about the trilogy, not just the third one. I like how you don't see John Wick from the very beginning. You know, he's already gotten out of the game. I like that. Because they don't have to go through, you know, all his training, and they don't have to go through, you know, all this other stuff. He's already at where he needs to be. But yet he's not as amazing as he used to be because he's been in retirement.
But he's still the best.
Yes, exactly. Which really gives you an idea of, whoa, when he first started, just imagine how good he was then.
And we actually get a look into some of his backstory in this one, where he goes to see, like, basically his mother. Apparently he's an orphan and he was trained up, which I got serious Black Widow vibes from this.
Yep, I did too.
Or Black Sparrow, or Red Sparrow, where they train you up. And I thought this was really cool. I thought it was, I don't know if I'd say much needed for his character, but it felt like it came at the right time.
To me, it filled in a gap because I understood that he was good, but I never understood how. I wondered if, you know, he was in the military or if, you know, something, but this shows how he started being so good at hand-to-hand combat. Because you see those, boys wrestling, and that's the exact same move that John Wick does.
Definitely.
And so I like it because it kind of introduces you to the fact that, you know, no, he wasn't in the military. He just went through several different places and they each, you know, taught him something about it.
Yeah, and this is what I love about this movie, probably the most, is that it's just world building. There's tons of world building here. And we now have an understanding that there are organizations that all they do is bring up people and train them to become assassins.
And something I also love about this movie is that basically I consider all of these different factions, right? You know, you had the Chinese faction, you had the Madam whatever faction that was basically his mom. And you have, I don't know, you just have a lot of factions in this movie, and I like it because it explains to us how they work, and not only how they work, but that, yes, they may be competing factions, but at the same time, they're still all under the high table.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Assassin's Creed-ish in there with all the different ways that there's secret organizations and there's multiples and they sort of work together, but they sort of don't, which is really cool. You know, I really like that. But there's one big thing in this movie I want to talk about. Okay. Probably I would consider it the big thing. We find out, was the high table in the first movie? Did they talk about that?
They mentioned it, yes.
Okay. So that's been in all of them. We find out in this one, there's a man above the high table, right?
Yes.
And John Wick is trying to find him, and he's told that to find him, he basically has to walk in the desert until he can't walk anymore. I didn't love that explanation because it felt a bit too mystic for this world. Okay. Like it's, I don't know. And I was waiting to see how it played out. And so he goes and he gets picked up and he meets up with this, I don't know, Indian, Arab, something kind of guy out in the desert. And I don't really understand why this guy is over this entire thing. Like, when you think about the high table, you can kind of understand that. Given the way the first two movies are set up, it feels like it's probably some kind of board of people, and they've got some agenda going on. But this guy, he doesn't feel like he's got an agenda. He doesn't feel like he's trying to accomplish anything. He doesn't look like he's super wealthy. I mean, they're just in a regular tent out in the desert. I don't know if that's just his meeting place or whatever, but I don't know. This part felt off for me. It felt a little bit too mystical. He didn't seem like the kind of guy that would be over this. If he is, and he's the kind of guy that he was portraying, then he needs to have some sort of not necessarily religious goal, but some sort of closely held belief that is driving why he's doing this. Or maybe it's some tradition that's passed down. Or they should have played him as someone that's doing this for some other sort of reason. And we don't get any of that in this movie. And it felt really off to me. He felt too forgiving and like there wasn't a point for him to be there.
See, okay, I agree with you to a certain extent. I don't think he was too forgiving. Because if you think about it, John Wick's the best. They don't really want to lose him. But at the same time, they couldn't allow him to do what he did without punishment, because then, everything would run amok from then on out.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to punish him so that everybody saw, hey, whoa, even John Wick can't get away with things. But whenever he came back to them and was willing to complete a task for them, they saw it as, okay, well, this is like our best player on the game. We don't want to lose him. Let's do this for him because he has been such a good, he has served so well, and so he will be a servant, Yeah, so that's how I took it. I also took it as, this guy's the guy that started the high table. I don't think they explicitly say that. That's just the feel that I got from it. And I think that he kind of does actually have a belief. It's not explicitly stated in the movie, but I think that it goes back to that other character that you meet when Halle Berry and I don't remember her character's name, so I'm just gonna keep saying Halle Berry. When Halle Berry and John Wick go up to the rooftop, and they have their dogs with them, and there's that other leader at the gold facility. Mm-hmm. And he kind of explains, yeah, this is the Brotherhood. This entire thing is built off trust and devotion. And so I think this Indian guy that we see is does have a belief. I think that his belief is that brotherhood comes first. And I kind of got that feel from where they were in the desert. And yeah, he may not have, like a big fancy, castle or, hut or whatever. He just has a small tent. But it felt like he felt like a man of love and a man of dedication. And so I feel like that's kind of what it spiraled from, and he ended up making the high table, to say, let's teach people to actually have morals. Yes, they're out here killing people, but let's teach them that they're all principles that they have to follow, and they're all rules, and if they follow these, that they will still be a part of a family.
I get that part of it. The part that I don't understand is the assassin part. What is he gaining out of hiring assassins or any of that? That's the part I'm missing. If we're just talking about the community and the family, that makes sense. But the other part is I don't know if they purposely left it out, if they just didn't think about it, if they thought it worked the way it was. That's what's missing for me.
Okay. I mean, who knows? Maybe when he started it, he had an agenda of people to be killed, and they were all killed. And it helped him gain power, or it helped his country or something. You don't see that. I personally kind of like that, because it leaves your mind up to imagination. I understand where you're coming from, though, that you don't like it. It is kind of a plot hole. But I don't know. I like some plot holes because it leaves it up to your imagination.
Listeners, if you have any ideas on this, I'd love to hear a different perspective on it, whether you loved it or hated it or why. So check us out on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Send us in an email if you have thoughts on that.
Now, while we're talking about this scene, something I did love is how he, made him cut off a finger with a ring on it. It's something super small, but it's something I really liked. Some movies would have had him cut off the finger, and wrapped it in bandages and then be off. And that's not how real life works. It doesn't matter how much you cover that in bandages, it's still gonna bleed out. But here, they literally take, smoldering metal to, cauterize it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the right word.
Cauterize.
Yeah. And so, I don't know why. It's stuff with this movie I love, because this trilogy, for the most part, is really believable to me. Almost everything in it could actually happen.
Except for the fact that John Wick is an unkillable man.
Well, yeah. But, there could be someone that good out there, and you just would never know, because every single time someone encounters him, they die. So... based on what happens at the end of this movie, I don't think that's true. Fair enough. But yeah, so that's something I really love about the trilogy. It's just, it's for the most part realistic, yes, with the exception of, the main story. But other than that, so something else that I really liked, I loved the dogs in this movie.
Courtney looked at me. She's been asking for a dog forever. And she was like, can we get a dog now? I'm like, no. Why would that convince me? They're like demons.
that deconvinces me.
Right.
No, I really liked it because, like you said, in the first movie you saw gunfighting. Second movie you saw half hand-to-hand, half, gunfighting. In this movie you see sword fighting, you see knife throwing, you see book smashing.
Oh, brutal.
You see, dogs just tearing into people. You see car chases. You see every single type of action scene basically that you can think of. And I love how they incorporated these dogs because it is something that's believable. Dogs are used for this purpose, in the military and, not this exact purpose, but,
well, maybe. We don't know.
But yeah, you're right. But they can be vicious animals, but at the same time also be cuddly to the owner. And so I liked this aspect. And it also made sense. And I liked how, that Halle Berry's character and John Wick were in trouble at sometimes and the dogs came. Because I kind of like the aspect of, being like man's best friend and that, yes, if those dogs weren't there, they could have died. Yeah, I don't know why it came up and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I liked the dogs. I think that they maybe use the same trick too many times. And okay. I will say because they don't cut away fast enough, it looks pretty obvious when they go and kill someone and they just keep gnawing at the same spot. It's like, oh, well, that's the trainer and they clearly train them just to pull on that one area. And
yeah, I get that.
So that took me out a little bit, but I did like them there. I do want to mention, you talked about the book at the beginning. I loved that because if you remember at the beginning of the second movie, the guy talks about how John Wick killed 3 people with a pencil. How do you do that? Well, in this movie, he kills a guy with a book.
And I don't know if you caught it, Caleb. He actually kills 3 guys in this movie with a pencil.
Yep, I did catch that, which also very brutal.
Oh, yeah. In this book, I loved this because it was a different fight from what we used to seeing, one-on-one, usually John Wick's over, like a snap of a finger, and he's done. But this one, the guy was just so massive. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know how he's gonna do it. And then when he puts that book in his mouth and just pounds it, I'm like, ooh.
Yep. Yeah, that guy's a monster of a man, and I can't think of any movie specifically, but I feel like I've seen this sort of thing before, and every time it's just great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was great. I loved going back just really quickly to the dogs whenever, that guy shoots the dog and she's like, he shot my dog. And John Wick's like, no, I get it. I get it.
Right. I love how it's self-aware enough at this point where it's like, yeah, Did you notice how they're trying to shift that? Like, the first one came out and it was the dog and it was like, cause the wife gave him the dog. But in the second one and the third one, they're kind of shifting it. They talk less about the dog and more about because he lost his wife.
Yes, I did realize that. And that's actually, kind of the thing I was talking about getting tired of, is that in the first movie, they explain it, I think it was 3 times, because I looked it up after the fact, because I was curious. They explain it 3 or 4 times, how his dog died and his car was stolen, and that's why he was killing people. The second movie starts out, and the guy starts into it again, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And he gets most of the way through the story, but then the employee's like, yeah, no, I get it. He killed it because of the puppy.
Right.
And I was like, okay, good. I don't have to hear it anymore. But then later in the movie, they go into it again. And I'm like, and I think it's just because I was binging it.
Yeah, I think so.
After hearing it, 8 times, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, the man's upset. Let him kill. Just get your frustrations out.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with that, so I think you're right. It's just because you watch them in such close proximity. I do like that they keep kind of bringing some lines back, where I think he has a line in here where he might say he's back again or something, which I kind of do in most of the movies now.
Wait, John Wick says that?
Yeah.
I will say, something that bothers me, and this is not exactly about the third one, I was expecting it, the bad guy in number 2 that's in the car shop, the boss that John Wick doesn't kill, A, why doesn't he kill him? B, why does this guy not show back up in 3?
Well, it's funny you say that, because in the second one, when he kills the black guy, the guy who's played by Common, I thought he was going to show back up in the third one, because we never actually see him die.
Yeah, I thought that too, but he didn't either.
No, and I mean, based on how the timeline of these movies work, Common coming back wouldn't make sense. The other guy could, but I think that was his way of getting out of that. Maybe in a future installment.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about that. I wanted this movie to end the John Wick series, right? I thought this was the perfect movie to end it, and this is where I was okay with the movie all the way up until this point, and it's at the very, very end when John Wick gets shot by Winston, and he falls off the Continental, right? And he's laying in the street. Yeah, I mean, you basically know immediately he's not dead. You know, you see him fall, and it looks incredibly painful, and he bounces off stuff, and like, it's vicious, but like, you know he's not dead. And when the, adjudicator?
Yeah.
Yeah. When the adjudicator, you know, came back in and told Winston, you know, hey, whoa, you know, he's gone. I wish what they would have done is either Winston says, yeah, I'll get right on that or whatever, and the movie ends right there. Or I wish after he says that, it would have shown, you know, like a flash forward or something like that. And John Wick is somewhere else, you know, like another country or something, trying to live his life. You know, maybe he has the haircut that, Keanu Reeves, you know, normally has. Or like that he had in The Matrix or something. You know, just something that's different about him. And, you know, he's trying to get on with that normal life because that's what he wanted. And that's the whole reason he didn't kill Winston, is because he said he wanted to get back to a life where he could try to remember his wife and not constantly be killing people.
Yeah.
But yet you see him crawl back to the pigeon guy and he's like, yeah, I'm mad. At first I thought Winston and John Wick had planned this out. And then you see that John Wick is basically dead. I don't know if they planned this out.
Right.
Do you think Winston went behind his back?
I think he did. I mean, because I thought about this too, and when you watch the movie, Winston is really just concerned about himself until the very end. He kind of has that turn, and you go with it because they're friends. But later on, and when he turns back, it makes more sense actually for him to be that way. I thought it was a little bit weird how the adjudicator just went with Winston right off the bat after that. That felt a little weak. My issue here is, again, unkillable John Wick. Like, if we hadn't seen The Fall, or if there was time and John maybe switched out with someone else, that would have worked. But the fact that he actually fell and hit everything the way he did and didn't die, that kind of bothers me.
But I agree. However, I'm okay with it because you didn't see him walking after that. You know, you didn't see him anything. He laid in the floor and he looked like he was basically dead. You know, he was bleeding heavily from his head and he couldn't even get up, and I was okay with it because of that. Now, if we would have seen him, you know, get up and walking around, or, you know, being any better than he was, I would have immediately been shut off from that. Because that fall was very intense.
Yeah, I mean, he hits the fire escape.
Yeah, which I think actually that's the one thing that saved him, is the ramp coming off the side of the Continental that he's on. He hits that ramp, bounces off, hits the fire escape, bounces off, hits the dumpster, and then hits the ground. And that's why I thought they planned it, because I was like, oh, there's so many things to kind of break his fall, so it's not as much of a fall. And then whenever, I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Charon or Sharon or the receptionist. Mm-hmm. Whenever he says, well played, sir, I was like, oh yeah, they definitely planned that. But
yeah, then, I don't think they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to dwell on that, I was like, oh my goodness. I really liked his character, the receptionist. I loved his character. He's one of my favorite characters. And then I thought he was, close to John Wick and he liked him. I thought Winston did too. And then they do that and I was like, what?
You don't know what to believe anymore, right? I think that's sort of the point. I went into this expecting it to be the last one, but not necessarily wanting it to be the last one. And honestly, I'm kind of glad it's not, because I think that they've got some more stories to tell, and I think that they can do some really interesting things. I will say, because they decided to do this, the movie felt long. That whole section is where it started to feel long. I thought the movie was going to end when they decided not to go with a high table, and they went into their room, and that music starts playing like it did at the end of the last two.
With all the guns.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to end with the deconsecration of the whatever it's called, the hotel.
The Continental.
The Continental. I thought it was going to end with that, because it kind of mirrors the last one. And part of me was like, really, they're going to end it this way again? But part of me was like, I mean, at the same time, like, this gets me pretty pumped.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going.
Yeah, I had a couple questions, because they don't explain everything. They do explain a lot of things, but do you think the Continental is in, like, every major city around the world?
I don't know if there's one in every major city. There's definitely one in every major continent, and I would say maybe one in every region.
Because I would say, I think that there's one in, I would say every major city, because they specifically say, the New York Continental. And I thought, oh, well, maybe that just means, America, but I feel like they would have said the American Continental.
It's very
or
possible.
Something like that, because you obviously know it's in New York several times with the camera shots, around the city, and you see the Statue of Liberty.
Uh-huh.
And plus, whenever they go to get the files, did you see how many files there were?
Oh, yeah. I want to know where that place is.
Yeah, this is what I want to see. If they're gonna keep it going, which I don't exactly like, but I can go with, if they're gonna keep it going, I want to see John Wick go after the high table.
Which I think is what the next one's going to be, right?
And I want to see, the king of the homeless people. I want to see him help them and kind of create their own, under the table, and have like an all out war against them.
I do really like how, well, first off, I was really surprised that he came back. I definitely thought he was dead.
Oh yeah, me too.
But I do really like how they have that sequence where everybody that helped him gets punished. I feel like I wasn't expecting that at all, and it felt like this world had consequences. And at the same time, I liked how they didn't just kill everyone, because that's what I thought they were going to do. Yeah, like the woman just basically lost the use of her hands. The one guy was going to lose the Continental, and then I think they did try to kill Pigeon Guy, and he just survived. And
they definitely were going to kill Winston.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now, you didn't see what happened to the Chinese doctor.
No, I think he's fine.
Which I think he's fine, because that was so funny whenever he was telling John Wick where to shoot him. He's like, make sure not to hit that, and he would just shoot.
Yeah.
He's like, I know the vital spots, don't worry. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I really thought after, the fight with the, Asian guy that owned the sushi place.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought, when they're sitting in the floor and he has a sword in him and the adjudicator comes downstairs and John Wick's down there. No. Sorry. Backwards. It's Winston and John Wick down there. And the adjudicator comes down. Why didn't John Wick just shoot her right there?
I don't know. And I had questions about her fighting ability too, because she doesn't really do anything, but you would expect someone like that to be highly trained.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because they also sent in their quote-unquote best men, and they were just gun people, so I don't know how they fit in with the assassins either.
Now, what do you think about the armor at the end that the people from the high table were wearing?
That's part of why the end got so boring, is, man, John likes to waste bullets, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Dude just kept shooting. Like in the first one, I felt like he was very economical, and in this one, it seems like he's just willing to throw away all of his bullets. I think it went on too long. I felt like they were too powerful. A like, I didn't have an issue with the fact that they were too powerful, but because of that, it dragged on longer.
Yep.
You know.
I agree. I will say, I really like the ninja sequences in this movie.
Oh, yeah, those were cool.
I thought those were so cool. You know, you would be seeing a room and then you would see someone walk out of the shadows and you were like, I did not even see them.
Yep.
Like, that was insane. And I actually read something about these scenes. So they hired some martial artists for these scenes. And whenever you see the shots and you don't see the people, they're actually there. Like, that's not any tricks that they use to make them look dark or anything like that. Those are actually rooms that they use the lighting and everything. Mm-hmm. So those corners and areas in there would be super dark so you wouldn't see them.
Yep, I believe it.
Which is super cool.
Yeah, I thought all those were really cool. I did really like the Asian guy, the main sushi guy.
Yeah, his character's kind of weird to me. Like, I thought he was like a bad A the entire time. And then all of a sudden, then he's like, I'm your biggest fan. He's like, I've been wanting to meet you all the time, which makes sense because he's so famous.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was just a weird tone for his character.
It was a little weird, but I really liked it. I mean, it felt very in place with everything else that happens. I mean, but you saw at the beginning, people come in that know who he is and try to kill him anyway. And
True.
that comes with the job, right? But I thought that his turn, that he was a fanboy, was really cool. There was a moment towards the end where I thought he was going to turn on the high table.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, and he didn't, which probably makes more sense.
Yeah. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah. I'm really glad they did this. Whenever John Wick is in that area, with all the glass, right? And he's facing the two, Asian gentlemen who are basically ninjas,
mm-hmm.
And they have the chance to kill him several times, but they don't because their master wants to kill him. I thought when he was fighting them at the end, I thought he was going to kill them. I was like, no, don't kill them. Like, they just I get they didn't kill you so their boss could kill you, but they were so nice about it, Like,
I had the same reaction.
Yeah, don't kill them. And then he gets them on the ground and I was like, no. And then he said, we'll be seeing you. And I was like, okay, good.
No,
I don't know why.
I think that was, I'm going to kill you if you don't get back down.
Oh, yeah. No, I think the same thing. But I like the look of relief on their faces. They were like, okay, good. Like, we can stop.
Yeah. I did have a couple of other questions towards the beginning. So, we saw in the second one that he gets his jacket and it's got bulletproof lining in it. And we actually see that at least once in this movie.
Yes.
But at the beginning, he gets stabbed with a knife.
Yes.
How does that work?
Okay, so I actually know this. I used to watch the show Deadliest Warrior, which is awesome. And they talk about how materials such as this work. So just because a material is bulletproof, it's bulletproof to a certain caliber. That being said, there's a lot that goes behind it, as in, power, speed, and sharpness of the bullet. So, with most handgun bullets, which is what you see for the majority in this movie, being used,
mm-hmm.
The tips of those bullets are round. So the material that is used in his suit is a material that basically allows the power to be dispersed.
Right.
Yeah, dispersed throughout the surrounding area. However, when you have a knife or something like that, something that is very sharp, there's no room for that power to be dispersed. It needs to be more of a blunt object in order to be dispersed. And so that's like real life. If you have a Kevlar vest, that police use or something, those aren't knife resistant. You can stab right through those and be fine. When it comes,
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be fine if you were stabbed.
No, not you. Like if you were the one doing the stabbing, you'd be fine. Like you could just go right through it.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows we're not endorsing doing that.
No, of course not. Of course not. We love the police. And so yeah, it's just because a material is strong for one thing does not mean that it's going to work well against another.
Yeah, and I knew that. The way you explain that makes a lot of sense. I guess in my mind, it had force, but thinking back on it, it really didn't actually. It went in very slowly.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. My other question about the beginning, wasn't his wound on his side still open?
Yeah.
Or did they... Because it felt like he didn't worry about that at all. And if I remember correctly, he got shot through the side. That's how he got that.
No, you can... Okay, he wasn't shot. He was definitely stabbed.
Okay.
Through the side. And he allows himself to be stabbed. Wait. No, that was at the end of the first one. The end of the first one, he purposely takes a knife and stabs himself. And then he gets the dog, takes it home. The second one, he is battling with the guy. Maybe it is a shot. Anyways, yeah, it's still open. You can tell. When he's running at the beginning, he's like limping. And you can see him holding his side.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is they never treat it. Like when he goes to the doctor, that's not the thing that he goes for. It's never sewn up. It's never cauterized.
Now, remember what they said was that he had to take those pills. That was the second one, right? He had to take the pills before he fought because of that wound on the side.
Yeah, that was the third one. Because the doctor told him where the pills were.
No. He told him, wait. Nope. No. That was the second one. The third one, the doctor told him where the pills were, but he didn't tell them to keep taking him. I know it's the second one.
The doctor's not in the second one.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Because, yeah, Caleb, hear me out. I know for a fact he's in the second one. He's not in the same area that he's in the third one, but he is in the second one because before he goes in the church and burns up all that... Oh, wait, that's the first one. Oh, my goodness.
We should play a game. Which movie was this in?
That's hard because I'm thinking about when he burns up the money in the church, but that's in the first one. But yet, he also gets stabbed in the second one in the same exact spot. So,
anyway, he's got a massive wound and it's never addressed.
I don't know, maybe it's not open. I don't know at this point. I want to say I know. But at this point, the first one is the third one one's the second one, and the second one never even existed. So...
All right, last question.
Okay.
This movie... Well, okay, I do want to say, this series does a fantastic job of ratcheting up the tension. The first one, he's after people. The second one, he's after a guy, but there's some potential that people are after him. And then the third one, it's like just everyone. The entire world is after you. And I don't know where they go from there, but... Everyone's looking for him. Most people only know him because I guess they got sent a picture. Why doesn't he just disguise himself?
Okay. I've thought about this a lot, actually. And what it comes down to is he's cocky. And that's true. You can see that in the films.
He is, but he also seems really tired and like he doesn't want to deal with people.
Yes, but at the same time, I think he knows if he kills enough people are gonna not necessarily stop coming after him, but not as many people are gonna come after him. If he dresses up in a disguise, he'll constantly be running his whole life, and that's not who he is.
No. I meant disguise himself so he can still get to the people he needs to.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think to him, using a disguise is chickening out. It's running in a form. It's not,
he literally was running.
Okay, no, Caleb,
but he was running away. He doesn't seem to have a problem with that.
No, I get that. I think it's hiding to him. And I think he's so proud of the person that he is, and he's so determined in his capabilities that even though he's tired, he knows that he'll kill the people. And he told the guy in the second film, let them know, whoever comes for me, I will kill them. And so I think that it just doesn't make for good plot in the movie. I
think that's the real reason.
I just think, honestly, he doesn't think it'll work, or he just is so cocky in his abilities that he thinks everything will be fine. And he doesn't like the idea of hiding.
I guess. I wish they would have called it out in the movie.
Yeah. That'd been really funny if you had, Winston or something. He's like, why don't you dress up? And John Wick's like, He just looks down, you know, like he does, and he just walks out. Because
I mean, all he's got to do is shave his head and his facial hair, and he wouldn't even look like the same guy.
I mean, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Few things I have.
All right. Okay. Let's try to go through this pretty quick.
Yeah, these are super quick. These aren't even questions. These are just quick things. One reason I really like this movie is I feel like it's not rated R just to be rated R. You have those movies where they just drop F-bombs everywhere and, you know, they show gore that's absolutely pointless. In this movie, I feel like it actually adds to the movies because it's such an action movie, that's focused on it that I think you actually need it to be rated R, and it's not just rated R, you know, just to say, hey, you know, look, we're an adult film.
I agree.
I also really like how the Continental is international. It really shows the power of the high table and lets you know that they're not just here, you know, they're all over the world, and they do have extreme pull when it comes to absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
And my last thing is, throughout this movie and throughout this trilogy, I don't know if you got it, I got some very Kill Bill elements. Did you get that?
I didn't get that, mostly because I've only seen one of the Kill Bills, and it was on TV, so it was a TV edit, and that was a long time ago.
Okay. Well, Kill Bill kind of has some of the text that comes across the screen in the same way this one does, which, do you like that, by the way?
I do like that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I like that. And they don't overuse it, but they also don't underuse it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kill Bill is, yes, it's gory and stuff, but that's not exactly why. It's some of the fighting styles, and not only that, but the way the words pop up on the screen, some of the acting. I may have been the only one that thought this. I just, watching it, I was like, you know, this really reminds me of Kill Bill, like, a lot. But a lot better. So, that's all I got.
I will say, my last thing is when they announced the name of the movie, Parabellum, I was like, that's weird. I'm pretty sure that's something in the brain. But the reveal of what it means. Wait, what'd you say?
I said Parabellum is definitely in the brain.
Right. But the reveal of what it means, I thought was really cool.
And that reveal for our audience members who don't remember is...
it means let there be war. Because
to let there be peace, prepare for
Ian
war.
McShane at the end, when everything's about to go down, he's saying something in, I don't know if it's Arabic or if it's Italian, whatever language they say. He says a whole thing, and then he says Parabellum, and the subtitle is something to the effect of "Let there be war."
Yeah, he said, and he talks about how if you want peace, prepare for war.
Or it might have been prepare for war. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep. Yeah, so Caleb, like all our movies, if you had to rate this, you know, as you know, go to the movies, Netflix, Comcast,
you say as all of our movies, but we don't do that on all of them. I realized that last time.
Well, you used to.
I used to.
What would you say on this one?
I'd say definitely go see this in the theaters if you're a fan of action movies, or if you like the previous two. If you're not going to do that, then I would definitely say see it at some point, whether it is through Redbox, whether it's purchasing it, whether it's whatever, you know, definitely, something you should check out. If you haven't seen the first two and you have an iOS device, an Apple device, you can get both the first and second movie for $10 to buy on, iTunes right now, which is what Courtney and I did. It was cheaper than renting each one individually. So you could get those two, catch up on them, and then watch the new one.
And if you have a smart TV, actually, I have a Fire Stick, precisely. If you look up the first and second one, each of them are only $3.50 to rent.
Interesting. Yeah, they were $6 on Apple, which I thought was really expensive.
Oh wow, that is expensive. Okay. Well, I would say definitely go see it in the movies. I liked this. I hadn't seen any of the trilogy. Like I said, I watched it. Did get a little bit blown out because I had 6 hours of John Wick in one day. But definitely go see in the movie theaters. I probably won't go see it again in the movie theaters. However, I might see it again, you know, in a year or two. I will say, in case you haven't got it already, and it's pointless because we say this all the time, not one for the kids, not one for the family. Some rated R's all, this one, extremely not. So, yes. Well, that was that, and this is this. It's time for what you've been up to, Caleb.
What?
Boom. Got it. That transition was so smooth.
Well, I'm waiting.
I said what you've been up to.
You didn't ask me.
Yeah, I said, well, that was that, and this is this. It's time for what
fine.
you've been up to.
I thought you were going to say Caleb. What you
I did say Caleb. You're going to edit this and go back and listen, and you're going to be like, oof.
No, I'm not even going to check it. All right.
So what you been up to?
Not a whole lot. Been really busy this week. I was gonna watch Akira last night. And then you changed the day we were recording, so I didn't. And then I was gonna watch Akira tonight. And then the time that we recorded ended up being later than I thought it was gonna be. So I didn't watch it tonight either.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll watch it eventually.
I take full responsibility for that.
I did watch the first episode of the original Star Trek series.
How's that?
Never watched Star Trek except for some of the new movies. And I've seen Star Trek Nemesis for some odd reason. But I've never watched any of the series, and it's kind of been something I've wanted to do for a long time, so I checked out the first episode. My thoughts are that I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The effects were far better than I expected. The storytelling was much better than I expected. I thought it was going to be really, really dated. The issue I had with it was how long it was. I thought the Star Trek episodes were 20 or 30 minutes. They're an hour long.
Wow.
And after about 20 or 30 minutes, you really start to feel it.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, even though it was long. I might keep trying to watch one every once in a while. We'll see how that goes, because I do still want to be a little bit more familiar with it. And
awesome.
The other thing, I haven't actually done this. It's something I'm considering doing, is Shonen Jump, if you're not familiar, is the magazine that publishes a lot of popular manga around the world and in the US. They're the people that publish Dragon Ball and Naruto and One Piece and all that stuff. They have an app that I've heard about a couple times, and I checked it out today. It has some free stuff on there. You can read some of the new stuff for free. You can read some of the early chapters of series for free. But the cool thing is, they have a $2 subscription where you get access to everything that's on there. And they've got most of their stuff on there. So that's all of Naruto, that's all of Dragon Ball, all of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, there's tons of stuff on there. I can't name anywhere near all of it. So $2 a month and you get access to all of it. I thought that was a fantastic deal.
It is a fantastic deal.
Yeah, right? I might try to do that and check out some different manga coming up.
That'd be awesome.
Well, what about you, Jacob? What have you been up to?
Well, Caleb, I started My Hero Academia Season 3 the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. I'm only 2, maybe 3 episodes in. Really liking that. Just time-wise is the only reason I haven't watched any more.
Mm-hmm.
Been listening to this fantastic podcast. Absolutely fantastic podcast. I'm going to go ahead and give them a call out, because why not? If it's a great podcast, you should. It's Dungeon Master's Block. It's specifically for D&D, Dungeon Masters. It's one of the only podcasts I could find that is specifically for the Dungeon Master himself. They have about 120 something episodes out. It's been doing it for like 4 years, 3 years. They may have more than that. It talks about, ideas to how to build your world, how to make characters better, how to make your stories better, everything from governments in D&D all the way down to articles of clothing in D&D. It's just 2 guys. They're fantastic. They really, really help you understand how the game works and how to make players enjoy your game. And like Caleb said last week, I'm hosting my very first D&D game. So I've made up my own campaign for this. So I've been, really working hard for the past couple months, getting to a better point. And after listening to these guys, I have gone in and edited some stuff, changed a few things, added a few things, that I think is really going to enhance my story, a lot for the players, even though it only took me, maybe 10 minutes to change one thing. To the players, it's going to be a world of difference. So yeah, go ahead and, you guys should go listen to them if you like D&D. They're really, really awesome. Other than that, I haven't been up to much. I've really just been going to the gym a lot, too much, and working on D&D. I'm going to a theme park Wednesday, so that's fun. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, I'm actually really looking forward to your campaign. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but based on the name that I saw when we did our characters and everything you've just said, I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, so, everybody, I felt good when Caleb said he liked my name. The name that I came up with was Demons of Avalonia. Which, I hate to brag, but man, that is a good name.
It feels very D&D.
Thank you. And I hope you guys like it. I've spent a lot of work, we're not gonna go, precise D&D, exactly rule by rule by rule, but it'll be D&D.
Yep, and that's fine. That's what D&D is good for.
Yeah, and I mean, you know who else doesn't follow all the rules?
Who's that, Jacob?
Taylor Paul. Cause he's a rule breaker, and he doesn't care. But he does care about music, and he makes some awesome music. Go ahead and check him out at taylorpoolmusic.com. That's TaylorPoole music.com.
And if you're looking for some other people that make some awesome things, check out our friends over at CNC Power Hour, where they stream Magic the Gathering every Sunday on Twitch and video games throughout the week.
And if, man, you're looking for even more awesome things online, other than music and streaming games, go ahead and go over to our website that Caleb made, cuzwerenerds.com.
Which I believe now has over 100 hours of content.
Boom, boom, boom. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So, that's what we're talking about. It's an awesome website. It's the best way to share the podcast. Get on there, show your love for Caleb. He worked hard on it. Go look at it. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to 'Cause We're Nerds. Stay up to date with all the nerdy news and podcast drops by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also leave us comments and feedback at cuzwerenerds@gmail.com. That's CUZWERENERDS@gmail.com. And, as always, if you enjoy this podcast, we would love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Next week, we explore a whole new world as Disney's live-action Aladdin flies into theaters. Does their latest adaptation hold up? Is it just a greedy money grab? Or have they actually taken the time to do it properly? Find out on next week's episode of 'Cause We're Nerds. And, as always, stay nerdy.
Caleb, you're in New York City. It's raining. You're sitting at your favorite restaurant, eating a nice bologna sandwich, which is the best thing on the menu. You look over at the front door to see John Wick come in with his suit torn, bleeding out slowly. What do?
I run up to him. John Wick, I'm your biggest fan. Thanks for showing up.
He immediately shoots you in the foot. You are now bleeding out.
Ah, my foot! John, thank you for coming. My foot's, it's penance. Thanks for coming. It's my payment.
He looks at you, flips you off, and walks out.
No!
What? Why'd you go with that voice?
Oh, wait, which voice?
The voice you made for your character. What was that?
It was an accident.
Oh my, John Wick. Hi, I'm your biggest fan.
It was an accident, and once it happened, I kind of had to commit.
I thought you were trying to go for like a New York accent, and I was like, I've been in New York, and nobody sounds like that from around there. Oh man. Well, I hope you enjoy bleeding out on the restaurant floor with your half-eaten bologna sandwich in your left hand.
Hey, man, it's the best thing on the menu.